And now a little story from the Appleseed.
So you probably noticed my left arm, right? My left arm, did you notice it in the first part? Now this time I've rolled up my sleeve a little bit so you can see it better. Because this half, I get to talk about my arm, which is my favorite part. Because when I work with, especially when I work with kids, I tell them about my left arm. And so after the show, if you want a high five, we're out of luck, but I can high four all day. Because I have 4 fingers on this side. And also, I've worn one of these braces my whole life. These things are great if you got a brother, Perry Thrust. And also, when we were learning to ski, this is great. I don't have to explain skiing to you guys. But when we were kids, we were learning to ski, right? And to get to the top of the hill, we would take what's called the rope toe. Do you have rope toes here? You know, okay, so you know what these are. So you grab onto the rope, and it pulls you to the top of the hill, and then you slide back down. Well, at the bottom of the hill was a huge sign that said, absolutely no long hats, long scarves, or woolly mittens allowed on the rope toe. And my brother and I are standing there in our long hats, long scarves, woolly mittens. They don't mean us. And I grabbed onto the rope, and when I got to the top, I found out why that sign was there, because the rope twists as it goes up the hill. And if you're wearing woolly mittens, they twist into the rope. They actually become part of the rope toe. So I get to the top of the hill, and I go to let go, but I can't because my mittens have woven into the rope, and I'm pulling, and my right arm used to work at that time. I pulled my right arm free, but my left arm was not coming free, and it's starting to lift me up off the ground. I think, man, I've got to do something here. So I just let go of my brace, and my brace flies off my arm, and it's flying through the air. Well, the woman behind me sees it and says, oh my, it's his arm. And she's down and people are piling into her. So we did the rope toe trick the rest of the day. And so that's my left arm. And and I was teaching a class once. I'm teaching a class and it gets done. And these kids come up and I said, high 4. This little girl says, no, high 2. And I look down and she has 2 fingers on one hand. So we high-two'd, and I asked her teacher, I go, how's that little girl doing? Because, you know, she's one of my people. And her teacher says, okay, look, it was around Thanksgiving. And do you guys do this in school? I don't know if we used to, you'd put your hand on a piece of paper and you'd trace around your fingers and draw a turkey. And your fingers would be the feathers, and then your thumb would be the head of the turkey. And the teacher said, if you put both hands down, you can have 2 turkeys facing each other. So the kids did their drawings, and they turned them in, and she's going through the drawings. She got to that little girl's drawing, and there's 1 turkey with all of its feathers and 1 turkey with 2 feathers. And the teacher thought, I wonder if that's going to embarrass her if I put that up. So she told the little girl, you know, if you want to redo your drawing and use the same hand for both turkeys, you know, that would be fine. So the little girl redid her drawing, 2 turkeys with 2 feathers on both sides. And yeah, I know. And here's what I really loved about that teacher. Then that teacher put up all the kids' pictures of all the turkeys, and right in the middle of that flock was that little girl's picture with the 2 turkeys with 2 feathers. And I thought, that is perfect, because not only were her 2 turkeys representing her personality, but it was also part of the flock. One of my favorite words is belonging, because it's 2 words. Being somewhere and longing to be somewhere else. So it's this paradox that we all live in, where we are our most happy. We need safety and we need risk. We need a challenge, and we need to know that we are in a nest. And I think that's the most beautiful thing about being humans, is that we live in this paradox. This leads me to my story. Long ago, there was a boy, a young boy, and he was different than the other boys. His head set on 1 shoulder blade, and his spine was crooked, and 1 leg was shorter than the others. And at first, all the other boys teased him, but then they realized, you know, we're not getting anywhere with this kid, because he didn't care. He didn't care. He thought it was their problem they were teasing him, and so he just had this glowing spirit. And so finally, the boys just stopped, and they embraced the kid as one of their own, because he just had this personality that just drew you in. This girl moved to town, young girl. She saw the boy and she thought, How can he be embraced? I mean, who is this kid? How can this be happening? And then she started to see this kid and how that the other kids just loved him. The little girl started to worry about the boy. She came to the boy's mother and she said, I worry about your son. I mean, he's fine now as a little kid, but when he gets older and it comes time to marry, who will he find? How will he find someone to love? This is a question I asked my grandmother. This is a question I asked when I was a kid. Who will I find to love? This is when the boy's mother turned to the girl and said, I don't worry about that. She said, because my boy turned to me one day and he said, Mom, don't worry. I already know my wife. I already know who she is. He said, before I was born, he said, the angels were putting me together. They were putting my body together. And the angel putting my limbs on said, you know, I have never seen a spirit like yours. I've never seen someone that has this glowing spirit. He said, you are really lucky. Nothing's going to faze you in your life. You're going to be the happiest kid in the world. And he said, just as a gift, I'm going to point, see across the room? There's your wife. That's going to be your wife. And the boy looked across the room, and there was this girl with the most beautiful soul he'd ever seen, this spirit of a dancer, this beautiful, free spirit. And he saw the angels putting her body together, and her head sat on one shoulder blade, and her spine was crooked, and one leg was shorter than the other. And the boy said, that's not fair. That's not her soul. That's not right. That's a wrong body on this soul. And the angel said, well, that's the body she's going to get. And the boy said, what if we traded? What if we traded bodies? And the angel said, well, I suppose we could do that, but why would you want to have that body instead of the one you have? He says, because of my spirit. I'm not going to care. You already told me that. I'm going to have the happiest life. You already know that, and so do I. So it doesn't really matter to me. And besides, she is the soul of a dancer. She needs to be in a body that moves. And the angel said, okay, we'll do that. That sounds fine. So they traded the bodies, and the boy's mother said, so you see, to the girl, I don't worry about him because he's going to be fine. Because he's the kind of kid that the veil of this world to the next has always been very thin. So I know he was telling me the truth. So the girl heard that and she thought, I wonder who that girl is. She's in this town somewhere. And so she watched the boy, and as time went on, they became good friends. They became really close friends. And she thought, who is that girl? Who is? And then after time went on, she went, I wish I was that girl. And then after time went on, she said, I have to be that girl. And then she thought, I can't risk it any longer. So she walked up to the boy and she asked if he would marry her. And he said, yes, of course. And she was so happy because at that moment she knew she was that girl. She was the one he had seen. So they got married. They had a really great, happy life. They had children. Everything didn't go smoothly because after all, this is a true story, not a fairy tale. And so they went through their lives, and in old age, they were together. And one day, the boy turned, now an old man, turned to his wife, and he said, I can't believe you asked me to marry you. I feel so happy. I feel so lucky. And she goes, don't even try that with me. I already heard the whole story. Your mother told me everything, so I know luck had nothing to do with it. And he walked up and he hugged and he kissed her, even though he had no idea what she was talking about. I call that story The Good Mother.
Thanks for joining us for a little story from the Appleseed.